Hey guys, it's Al with techmadeezy, and I'm going to be doing a comparison of the Milwaukee Gen 1 and the Milwaukee Gen 2. This is the 2830 and this is the 2930. I'm going to start off in this video going over what changed. We're going to get to it right up front. And while I cover what changed between these two, I'm actually going to show you. Afterwards, we'll cover specs for anyone that wants that. But let's go ahead and get this party started. I'm going to jump in and just go over pricing real quick, and then we're going to cover in detail what changed. So first of all, tool only on these two, 2830-20, 2930-20. These are $279 as I make this video. Now, if you want the kits that come with the charger and the 12 amp hour battery, and this one comes with the new Forge 12 amp hour battery, those are $449. All right, but let's go ahead and jump in and talk about what changed, and we'll also take some looks. So let's spend some time talking about what changed, and we'll take some looks as well. First of all, let me just tell you that the 2930 does come with a new Forge 12 amp hour battery. This guy is going to come with a 12 amp hour high output battery, but this has got some additional power, they say. Next up, power is a difference between these two. Max RPM on this with no load is 5,800. Max RPM on this with no load is 6,000 RPM. So that is a difference. Now, weight is a difference, and I know that's going to be a big one for a lot of folks. This one here weighs 9.9 pounds. This one weighs 8.27 pounds. That is 1.5 pounds at the end of the day. And when you're holding this and you're making those multiple cuts, that's going to make a really big difference. Now, another thing that changed is the dust port location. So you could see here that if you take this off, this is the dust port adapter that goes there. So you take this off and you pretty much throw this on here like this. Now, this doesn't move, so it's basically going to shoot straight back. Obviously, you'll be able to connect your vac hose, but they improved that. Let's take a look at the 2930 and see how they improved it. So as you can see here, it is now in the front of the saw, and it does rotate. So it will have a little bit of a rotate angle, but at the end of the day, this is actually going to be in the front, not on that left side. So that one, a lot of people seem pretty happy about. Now, they do say that the 2930 paired with the new 12 amp hour Forge battery will give you up to 750 cuts. The 2830 with the 12 amp hour high output, they're saying 570 cuts. Now, cutting slightly changed. So let's talk about the 2930. So the 90 degree is 0 to 2 5/8, whereas a 2830 is 0 to 2.5 inches. So that's just a drop more. Now, when we talk about 45 degree, your 2930 is 0 to 2 inches, and the 2830 is 0 to 1 7/8 inches. Length of the tool changed also, not the width, but the length. So the 2830 is 18.9 inches in length, and the 2930 is now 18.35 inches in length. So another thing that changed was they actually moved where they placed the light. So on the 2830, you'll see that that's the light right there. It's down there and it shoots down this way. And on the 2930, they actually changed it. This is the light. I'm going to put a battery in. I'll turn the lights off just a little bit so you could see what that looks like. So this is the 2830. I've got a battery inside. I'm going to be really careful, right? But I'm going to take this and hold this here. I want to put it right up against the wood. All right, now what I'm going to do is move this back so it's not hitting. I'm not going to turn it on. All I'm going to do is hit the button. That is the unlock button. And you can see here that, it lights up the spot there. So not bad. Let's take a look at the 2930. Now we're looking at the 2930. Again, I'm going to be really careful because in this case, you actually have to unlock the lock, but I'm going to tap the trigger. I'm going to make sure the blade's not moving. I just want you to see that it seems very similar. You know, that's all I can say. It really does. Even though they changed the angle, it does seem similar. So here's another thing that changed. When you want to use the 2830 Gen 1, right, in order to pull the trigger, you just have to pull this down, pull this in, hold it while you're using it, let go, and then obviously every time pull that down, right? So you have to keep doing that, you know, depending on how many times you stop. But they changed that on the 2930. Let me show you that. So here's a 2930, and what they did was they took the lock and they put it up top, and they gave you an unlock position. So you can leave it locked, you can leave it unlocked. And from now on, every time you want to use this, just press that. That's all you need to do. You don't have to pull down and press, pull down and press. So that's a nice update. So putting these side by side, 2930, right, Gen 2 on the right, Gen 1 on the left. You know, as I align these, if I align these correctly, I definitely see that the Gen 1 is a little shorter, first of all. So that'll help in getting it into your toolbox. The other thing you could see too is you've got this square handle here. Not that that's a big deal. They did round this off. So I don't know, does that help getting it into your box? I don't know what that does, but square here, obviously rounded here. Now, I don't know if, you know, I mean, other than that, you know, they say the height is the same and the handles look the same. So I didn't see any difference in Gen 1 versus Gen 2 with the handles. I really didn't. And, you know, I looked really hard. I'm going to do this one in the kitchen floor. And what I'm going to do is actually show you how different the arbors are on these. But in order to remove the blade, just so you'll know, the blade tool is right there on the bottom for both the Gen 1 as well as the Gen 2. So let me get settled here and I'll show you the difference of the arbor size. So you can see here on the Gen 1, the arbor size is actually diamond. So you see there, and basically, you know, you have a blade that you might need to punch out the center to get the diamond shape so it gets seated properly. Whereas the Gen 2 is 5/8, so they didn't go with the diamond this time. So it's 5/8, and you know, again, the blade does have the punch out, but you're not going to use it in this case. So diamond and 5/8 arbors. Let's take a moment now and really talk about what's the same. So obviously these are both 7 1/4 inch blades, right? They both have a brushless motor, and it's called the Power State brushless motor by Milwaukee. So that's the same. You know the RPMs changed. We covered that a little while ago. They both have an electronic brake. So as soon as you take your finger off the trigger, it stops immediately, right? They both use RedLink Plus protection. Now I'll put something on the screen, and what that does is they say it ensures the maximum tool performance and protection from overload, overheating, and over discharge. We already went over the depth of cut for the 90 degree and 45 degree because that changed. The length also changed. We covered that earlier, but what about the height? The height is the same at 7.87 inches. Another thing that didn't change is your rafter hook. The mechanism's the same, it works, people are happy with it. It's got a stop and then another stop right there. So they use the same mechanism, right, for your rafter hook, so that's nice. Another thing that stayed the same is your ambient operating temperature, and that's important too because depending on where you are, these systems have a limit as to how hot or how cold it can be. Well, the good news is they're both 0 degrees Fahrenheit to 125 degrees Fahrenheit. And they both have a 5-year warranty, and they are both made in China. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for watching our video. I sure hope you found it helpful. And if you did, give us a thumbs up. We'd appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and put our social media up on top if you want to follow us, and you'll be able to subscribe to our channel by clicking this round Tech Made Easy logo. Guys, thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.